In the deserts of North Africa, one man rose from obscurity to power. His name was Muammar Gaddafi. To some, he was a revolutionary hero. To others, a dictator who ruled with an iron fist. But why was he really killed? Was it for his cruelty, or was it because he dared to challenge the global order? This is the story of Gaddafi's rise, his fall, and the lessons for the Muslim world. In 1969, a young army officer led a bloodless coup. King Idris was overthrown, and Libya entered a new era. Gaddafi, only 27 years old, promised to end corruption, expel foreign bases, and return the nation's wealth to its people. For many Muslims, his defiance against Western domination made him a symbol of resistance. Gaddafi dreamed of a united Arab world, inspired by Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt. He pushed for Arab unity and used Libya's oil to support revolutionary movements. But his radical ideas and his fiery speeches made him a threat to both Arab monarchs and Western powers. To justify his vision, Gaddafi wrote the Green Book, a strange blend of socialism, tribalism, and Islam. He called it the Third International Theory, promising freedom without capitalism or communism. But while some admired his philosophy, others saw it as impractical and authoritarian. In the 1980s, Gaddafi's Libya was accused of sponsoring terrorism, the most infamous case, the Lockerbie bombing of 1988. The West imposed crippling sanctions, isolating Libya from the world. Yet Gaddafi remained defiant, calling America the enemy of Islam. In 1986, the United States bombed Tripoli and Benghazi, killing dozens, including Gaddafi's adopted daughter. Instead of surrendering, Gaddafi declared himself the leader of global resistance. But over time, isolation weakened Libya's economy. By the late 1990s, sanctions had taken their toll. Gaddafi changed course. He agreed to pay billions in compensation for Lockerbie, abandoned nuclear weapons programs, and opened Libya's oil fields to the West. World leaders, once calling him a terrorist, now welcomed him with handshakes and smiles. Even as he smiled with Western leaders, Gaddafi remained unpredictable. He criticized Western wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and still dreamed of a world free from their financial control. To the powers of the world, Gaddafi was never truly trusted. Gaddafi's boldest plan was economic. He called for a single African currency, backed by gold, the gold dinar. If Africa traded oil in gold instead of dollars, it would challenge the petrodollar system and threaten America's economic dominance. For decades, oil was sold in dollars, keeping America powerful. But Gaddafi's dream, if successful, could have freed Africa from the IMF and World Bank. This made him a serious threat, not because of his dictatorship, but because of his gold. In 2011, protests erupted across the Arab world, Tunisia, Egypt, Yemen, and soon Libya. At first, peaceful demands for reform. But quickly, the situation escalated into armed rebellion. Gaddafi vowed to crush the uprising, warning his enemies would bring chaos. The United Nations passed Resolution 1973, authorizing a no-fly zone. NATO claimed it was protecting civilians, but in reality, it was regime change. Western bombs fell not just on Gaddafi's forces, but on Libya's infrastructure. In October 2011, Gaddafi tried to flee Sirte, but he was captured, beaten and killed in the most brutal way. His bloodied image was broadcast to the world, a warning that no one who defies the global order would be spared. In Washington, London, and Paris, leaders celebrated, declaring Libya free, but the so-called liberation was the beginning of another tragedy. Gaddafi was gone, but so was Libya's stability. Without Gaddafi, Libya collapsed. Militias rose, ISIS found a foothold, tribes fought for power. Once the richest country in Africa, Libya became a failed state, a land of warlords and suffering. Foreign powers returned, not as liberators, but as looters. Libya's oil was divided, its sovereignty destroyed. The people who once lived with free healthcare and education now lived in ruins. The price of Gaddafi's fall was paid by the Libyan people. For the Muslim Ummah, Libya is a lesson. When we are divided, we become easy prey for foreign powers. Our wealth becomes a curse instead of a blessing. Gaddafi stood alone, and alone he fell. Allah says in the Quran, Surah Al-Imran, verse 26, "You give power to whom you will, and you remove power from whom you will." Gaddafi's power was not eternal. No leader's power is, unless it is rooted in justice and obedience to Allah. Muslims must understand, dependence on Western systems, whether military or financial, will always lead to betrayal. Gaddafi trusted the West after reconciliation, but in the end, they turned against him and destroyed his nation. Gaddafi is gone, but the questions remain. Will Muslims learn from his fate? Will we unite or remain divided? Will we depend on Allah or on our enemies? The future of the Ummah depends on the lessons we take today, because history will repeat itself until we rise again.